All right, how's everybody doing? Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. So, I don't know if today's the big wedding day or not, but I just wanted to throw a couple things out there um, as far as, the timing, because we're basically in the book of Revelation. And, in the last video, I talked about the white rabbit being in the womb of Virgo, the virgin, and we have the asteroid, the leftovers, Esther, joining the procession. Um, so the Revelation 12 sign, when it said, she was going to give birth to the man child, and the dragon stood before her waiting to devour the child. Okay, so that happened too. All that, that's part of the story. Okay, but the other thing too, in the book of Revelation, and I'm not sure which one, it's like Revelation 2 something or other, it talks about um, a particular time where people might be jailed, but it mentions 10 days. And so if the timeline ran out at the Super Bowl, the end of Super Bowl, halftime, somewhere right in there, if you go 10 days forward, that takes us to the 18th, which, again, I don't know if that was symbolically changed when Netanyahu came early, because that's when the meeting was scheduled. There's also a parade of planets scheduled about that same time, which the parade of planets, everything. Like I've said, this is something bigger than us. Okay, it's about everything. Everything here is part of what got destroyed, and it's all going back. So the parade of planets, all this is going with us in a manner of speaking. It's not going to be the same, so that'll be okay. Um, And the only reason I have this up here is just something to look at. I don't know. But these two are very similar. Okay, you've got the three worlds here in the Hopi prophecy, and you've got the box here. This is the fourth world. This is where we reside, and we process these three worlds through here. I've talked about this on a flow chart. This thing is called a process box, that symbol. It's the same thing as here. You got the three worlds, Elijah, Noah, and Jesus. You have another box. In that box right there, probably the Ark of the Covenant, which is where we are at. The cube, the box. They tell you to think outside the box. So, that's probably where we're at, is in that box. Same as that box over there. It's the same box that Clark Kent steps into and comes out as Superman. It's the same symbolism that's in the Matrix when, Neo and Morpheus and the gang move between realities. So anyway, it is what it is. One of the things that, I've had a discussion with somebody in the comments, and one of the things I didn't mention in regards to the George Bush. Okay, so when the orders came to move the George Bush, that's CV77. If you run 77 through Gematria, you get Messiah. So that is the IPEC Goat 2 scene where the Jesus character's in the canoe. He's heading towards the gate. And the gentleman, I believe it was gentleman, I hope I don't get that wrong. The person, we'll just say that I was talking to in the comment section, mentioned how that looked kind of like a throat heading towards a mouth, which symbolically, yeah, I mean, it's a portal, it's a gate, but so is your mouth, right? For the words we speak. And the Bible says, in the beginning, there was the Word. So if it looks like he's coming from the throat area out the mouth, and that was kind of the same thing I showed in the video with the sun that had like the face in the clouds on it, and coming from the throat area was the CME. Okay, so it's all symbolic. It is what it is, because actually it's really done through thought, and we speak things into existence. Yes, that's I don't know if that works in both realities. That's how it works in this reality. But anyway, so you had, let's see, where we had the George Washington, or not George Washington, the George Bush getting the orders to set sail, so that's the scene. And the reason I brought up the 10 days, it takes us to the 18th, which would be the day after the eclipse. So if the eclipse is something that happened in the past, that would mark when they arrived, because that's, like I said, that's Antarctica, that's the North Pole, that's the invaders from the north. I know there's people that talk about, no, they actually came, the UFOs are under the water, which yeah, they came in from space. They didn't come in from under the water. They landed at the pole and snuck in, got into the water where they could hide. Is the way I understand it. I don't know. I only know the things that I see. To me, that makes sense just based on the stories. You know, the beast comes out of the ocean, 7 heads, 10 horns. I've said all along that one of the horns is the Washington Monument, that big obelisk that sticks up in the sky. I did a video on the 10 horns. The 7 heads are, probably symbolically the 7 continents. With the 10 kings, it's the same 10 kings after the dragon got the virgin, the crown that was put on her head. Because she wore a crown originally, it was just replaced. That's all it is. There was a reality originally. There was a Mother Earth, so to speak. And like I said, I don't think that's the real name. This is just for this reality. And she was captured and turned. And that's why we are the way we are. Because this isn't the original. But it is what it is. So I wanted to throw that 10-day thing out there leading up to the 18th, because that would put us, technically a day is like 1,000 years. So that would put us 1,000 years prior to the arrival of them, I guess. And maybe matches the Parade of Planets, which would come after, I'm not sure, because if man was created on the 6th day, it depends on when the wedding took place too, right? Because what do they tell you in the church, right? After you're married, now go home and consummate the marriage. That's the marriage right there. Sex is actually the marriage. The ritual you go through in the church is exactly that. It's just a ritual. But that's the whole thing. So on the night of the wedding, which potentially could be the last night, again, I'm not real sure. We may have to track forward those 6 days to get to the creation of man again. But see, I don't know, because in the script, it says everything will be restored. So, the way I've always looked at it, we just have to they're doing their part with all these peace treaties and da-da-da-da-da. And I know the war looks like it's still raging. That's because there's only one reality in this particular dimension, and it's the one we see, and it's the one that leads to destruction. So that's the story that's going to play out right up until the time everything shifts, before that destruction takes place, and the new destruction, which is where everything changes in the blink of an eye, that destruction takes over. And that'll put us right back where we were before, if I'm not mistaken, the way I understand it. I don't know. So I don't know exactly if we have to get past, and like I said, that day may have been cut short by News visit, which might actually, if that's no longer in play, which might actually bring the Parade of Planets into play. I don't know. I see what I see. I remember there was some things I forgot on the last video about moving through the canal and that particular time, and then the particular 10 days, because I've always been kind of wondering about that myself. You hear a lot of people talk about, of course, the 3 days of darkness, which, like I said, there's one of those for every cycle. But I think the 3 days is also part of the 10 days. So they don't, that part of it runs congruent, just like on the hopscotch board. The timelines can run congruent and they blend together. 3 days of darkness could coincide with another 10 days of what we would define as darkness and the void to get to the actual birth. but I don't know. Based on what I see with the George Washington underway, that puts the character in the iPet Goat 2 movie, in the canoe moving towards the mouth. How long that takes, I'm not real sure. If we got to go the 6 days, the 10 days, 3 days, or even no days, it could all go down tonight. So I don't know. I just want to throw that out there because basically it's really rainy here, and I was bored. All right, I love y'all. Enjoy your Valentine's Day. Spend it with loved ones. All right, bye bye.